What's up, everybody? This is the National Championship. This is INC Live. This is the Iceman by himself for right now. We are sitting here with 2 minutes left before the end of the first half, and Michigan is up 17-3 over the Washington Huskies. So Brad will be joining us a little bit later for the second half. We decided to do a little bit of a live show this week so that we could break down a game live. Normally, we do this when we do a watch party. Brad has not been a part of this just yet, but Mike has. And we've always done the first half. We've never actually been there for the second half. And I feel like that's when you want to be a part of the action, because obviously that's when a lot of the game is decided. I mean, right now, Michigan has been bullying Washington, in my opinion. Their run game can't be stopped. Defensively, Michigan looks probably the best that they've looked all season long in some respects, because this is a Washington team that has 100% put up points this year. But Washington, unfortunately, has had a kind of a suspect defense. And for Michigan to be able to put up these kind of points this easily has been a good thing. Now, Michigan just went for it on 4th and 3 from, I think, like the 40-yard line. And with a 17-3 lead, you want to put pressure on this team. You want to put pressure on Michael Penix in Washington. I don't necessarily dislike the move, but I feel like the momentum is all with Michigan. You give Washington the ability to come back here. They have now taken the ball down here. They just got a pass interference play that's going to get them inside the 10-yard line. If Washington scores right here, it is 17-10, and that is 100% a different ball game at halftime. Who knows what happens in the second half? Michigan has been a second-half team all season long, and so Michigan probably feels confident coming in. But this is the kind of stuff that I feel like teams do to let another team back in. And that's just not something that you want. Hey, there's our buddy. We haven't seen you in a while, my man. We are here breaking down this game. I know that you are 100% locked in right now. I do have a friend who is at the game right now, Veronica. She is there with her family. They are big UW fans. And I can probably estimate that they're having a good time outside of the fact that this game here. But we're watching it. I'm watching it on YouTube TV, so I don't know how everybody else is watching it. So if I'm a little bit ahead of you, spoiler alert for you. But right now, the Huskies are sitting inside the 5-yard line, and, you know, they're hoping to get a touchdown here to bring this to a 7-point game. I can't really see a way that they come back in the second half if they don't get some points here, just because Michigan has looked so good. And obviously you talk about the refs and things like that, but I think that Michigan is looking the part this game so far. But let's see what happens here. So Washington, I think, is coming in. I don't know, man. What would you say? They a little banged up, maybe? This has been a long season for both teams. And, yeah, I would agree. I would say that right now, and you know what I think it is, man? I think that Penix right now looks as good as the Michigan defense will allow him, because this is a stout defense. This is a defense I know everybody likes to say that, oh, we didn't play anybody, or they didn't play anybody and all that. But, boy, this is a tough defense. It's a tough school. And Washington, I probably would say this is the best defense they faced all year long. So I don't think it's necessarily a Penix problem. I think it's just a scheme problem. I think it's just a matchup problem. But all good teams come back in the second half. And I said this last Friday, that Washington this year has had so many instances where they look like they're down, they look like they're tired, and then they make a roaring comeback. And so just because they look tired right now, just because it looks like Michigan has the upper hand, a touchdown here changes the entire complexion of the game. And this is a resilient Washington team that has been around. They have been able to make comebacks this year. And so I really feel like this is a really critical score here. I really don't think they can settle for a field goal, because I don't think field goals are going to win them this football game. So this is 4-down territory, in my opinion, for Washington, because they really need these 6 points. And I think they're going to get it, because this is a team that, oh, man, it's just tough. It's tough to root against them. Let's put it that way. Michigan may be easy to root against. Washington, to me, has not been easy to root against, because I just feel like they do things the right way. They're a complete team. Penix has been, this is his 5th or 6th year of eligibility. I mean, he looks great. He's obviously off to the NFL, but this is a resilient team, and this is a 4th down play that's really, really huge here. I just can't think that they're not going to punch it in right now, because Michael Penix cannot go out like this. He's just not going to. He's not going to allow it to happen. And this is a big, big play here. I am totally hoping that they do something here. Penix has got to take this team and put them on his shoulders. But Michigan has been one of the best teams in the red zone all year, and there it is, and a flag. Of course, there's a flag. Hopefully it's against Michigan and the touchdown stands, because that is a huge, huge score if that is the case. Yep. Let's see what happens, my man. By the way, I will be joined here by my co-host a little bit later on. Not the guy who was here for Thanksgiving, but that was the first time I think you saw us. But the coach will be here a little bit later. So it looks like pass interference against Michigan. So hopefully the Huskies will go in 17-10. They don't give up a big run or a big chunk run play with 42 seconds left in the half. They can't really afford that. So big score there. And honestly, I think this is predicated. I said this when we first started. I think this is predicated on Michigan going for it on fourth down right before. And here's the thing. Like, I'm always for being aggressive. I think Michigan at that point in time, up 2 scores, you've kind of got them in a stranglehold. Your defense has been able to hold them. I would much rather them punt it and give it punt it to Washington, try to pin them down, make them go nearly the length of the field. By going for it on fourth down, again, their defense hasn't really stopped you, but when you don't get the first down, this to me was a shot of adrenaline for Washington, and I just don't think it's a good idea in my opinion, because I think that you take too many chances. You never want to leave a team or let a team back in. That's just my opinion. And a lot of teams in the NFL did that this year. Teams that they just wanted teams to stick around just long enough. And this is not the game that you want to do that if you're Michigan. So Washington gets that big score. We'll see what happens here. I'm not sure what halftime is going to be like. Is there any type of halftime show? I'm not really sure like what national championship halftime show. I'll be perfectly honest with you. This is probably the first national championship game that I've tuned into in its entirety for a while. And the big reason here is because, we're doing this kind of stuff, and it's always fun to do that. So we got to shout out everybody who is here right now. It's always fun to have new people in these feeds. So keep the comments coming, and hopefully this will be a fun thing. Hopefully in the second half we'll get a good game. That's all that I really hoped for. When Michigan burst out to the 14-3 lead, I was a little worried that Coach and I were going to come on here and it was going to be like 28-3 or something like that. And then the entire live feed is almost kind of moot, because Washington fans certainly aren't going to show up for that. The likelihood of a comeback in that scenario is small, unless, of course, you're Tom Brady and your opponent is the Atlanta Falcons. But I think here, this is a ball game. But Washington cannot they just cannot let Michigan get any points here. They absolutely cannot. They have to stop. They have to stop them, go into halftime with that momentum. And right now, it's not looking good as the first play is like a 20-yard play. They cannot allow this. Michigan has 1 timeout. Washington has 1 timeout. Michigan now has used that timeout, so they are out of timeout. So give them the middle of the field, but seriously, don't let them get into field goal range. You cannot do this. And I have a feeling, though, that Michigan is going to do what they can. A good tackle inbounds right there, you got to have that. Just absolutely have to have that. So we will see. But somebody just texted me that they're watching this right now. My man KJ, who actually is a big sneaker friend of mine. I'm a sneaker enthusiast myself. I have a sneaker podcast and YouTube channel called Fire Footwear, and he and I like to text each other back and forth about our footwear choices. And KJ was kind enough to join in the chat, I think probably for the first time, but he really likes the shades. Now, these are the new Coach Primes that my wife was generous enough to gift to me on Christmas. I'm a big fan. I've got a pair in black as well. They are well made. They are not a gimmick piece of facewear. They are awesome. So Michigan trying to get into field goal range here, and I feel like Washington they need to put a stop to this. And there you go, an incomplete pass down the row here. So if we're looking at halftime, right, and you are Washington, you're thinking about the second half, you've got to be feeling pretty good about the way things went, because I think if you came to Washington before the game and told them, look, you're going to give up 2 easy touchdowns right away. It's going to be very difficult for you to move the football. And at halftime, it's only going to be 17-10. I think they would take that all day. Obviously, they prefer to be tied. Obviously, they'd prefer to be ahead. But I don't think that they would have complained if they played the way that they played in the first half and found themselves only down 7. They're going to get the ball back at the start of the second half. Always a good thing. And so Washington really has an opportunity here to get right back in this football game. Now, in the Rose Bowl, one of the things that I said that I wanted to see in the Rose Bowl was what would happen if Michigan faced adversity, because Michigan has been very, very fortunate this season to be front runners in the sense that they've been up in every game because they're an excellent football team. And they kind of saw a little bit of that. They definitely felt that against Alabama. They had to come back. They had to really grind and get that victory. What they haven't had yet is a team come back on them. So Michigan being up 2 scores with the defense that they have is a really big deal. And if they're tied early in the third quarter, this is anybody's ball game. And Michigan has not had a team be resilient and come back on them. Ohio State was probably the closest regular season game that they had. Wasn't even really that close if you really dig down and think about it. And it will be interesting to see what Michigan does in the second half. And I will try to entertain you throughout the entirety of halftime. I'm not sure if I can do that or not. But right now, it looks like there's nobody here anyway. So I might not have to do that, but we will see. If you are here and you're listening, definitely check out, definitely leave some comments, questions for me, anything like that. I just want to remind everybody that we do post the audio to a lot of these things, these live feeds. We do post them wherever you find your podcast. Iceman and Coach is the show that you would search for. Obviously, we have our YouTube channel where we do some other stuff. So as the new year is kind of posting up on us here, we're hoping to do some new things. Football is in its sunset with the national championship here. The Super Bowl is a month away or about a month away. And then we have a whole lull period between the Super Bowl and the start of the football season, late August, where we're going to be doing a lot of different things. We're hoping to do some college basketball stuff. So if you're into that, you definitely want to check us out. We're going to be doing a lot more lives. We're going to be doing a lot more watch parties like this for different sports. Definitely some big-time baseball games if we can. Maybe even some college basketball games during March Madness. Coach and I may actually be in one of the cities, or we might actually be in one of the cities for the first and second round. So we will hopefully be able to bring you some interesting content. I think this INC Live that we started when we did Football Friday, or what was called College Kickoff Eve, back in late August, all the way up until about Thanksgiving, we definitely were finding our groove with all that. And I feel like we have found our groove with all that. But while we're sitting here at halftime, let me give some thoughts on the NFL, because we're going to talk about the NFL, me and Coach. But one of the things you should know is before Iceman and Coach ever started, this podcast, whatever you want to call it, was called Drippin' Sports. And it was my own. I was a solo creator on Drippin' Sports. And I used to do hour-long monologues. I used to do, like 2-3 episodes a week sometimes. Now, the quality of them wasn't that great, but it was just sports commentary, because being in a household, obviously I'm married, and my wife likes sports, but my wife doesn't necessarily like to hear me talk about sports all the time. And it's always nice to have an outlet. So I started Drippin' Sports. I kind of took it down and decided to bring it back. And when I met the coach, we decided to get into Iceman and Coach. And that's kind of where we have been. So I started doing monologue episodes way back when, like 3 years ago almost now. And so halftime, I want to give my thoughts on the NFL, because obviously the NFL is coming to its playoffs now. And, week 18 just happened, which is interesting, because week 18, or whatever it used to be, is interesting when a lot of teams are vying for playoff spots. Now, one of the big things that I really enjoy that the NFL has done, I would say probably in the past 5 or 6 years, maybe it's been longer, is the NFL has decided to sort of change up the scheduling so that each of the teams has, I would say, a fair chance to know kind of what they have to do going into a game. Because I think that it hurts competitive balance when you have a team that knows that they are out and they kind of phone it in. They have nothing to play for. It's always great when all of your teams have something to play for, when every game has stakes, or at least every game feels like it has stakes. And so that's one thing I have to give the NFL credit for, because I feel like that makes the last week of the season interesting. If your team has a chance still, you know that they're not going to get screwed over because some team didn't play their best, because they knew that they didn't have to play their best. And now, if they have to play a team that's already clinched something, that's a different story. Can't really do anything about that. It's kind of like load management in the NBA. Can't really do anything about that if Greg Popovich wants to bench Wemby every other game. Now, he might bench him because he's been a little shaky as a rookie, but that's a different story. So heading into this week, I was interested in a few storylines. Now, I should tell everybody that I definitely have a bias when it comes to the AFC South because I'm not a big fan of the kind of football that they play there. But it was probably one of the more intriguing divisions, only in the sense that 3 out of the 4 teams actually still had a chance to make it in. And the Houston Texans did something that I think nobody, I don't even think anybody in Houston thought they were going to be able to do it. They drafted CJ Stroud in May, and I think a lot of people were hesitant on that pick because it's an Ohio State quarterback. Ohio State quarterbacks have historically been hit or miss in the NFL. And Justin Fields had a resurgence at the end of the season, and maybe the Bears will be able to put the pieces around him and actually have a game plan to make him maximize his skill set. But I think the Texans took their guy. When you look at that team as a whole, you weren't really wowed by what was on paper. And CJ Stroud had what can only be seen as a just excellent rookie campaign. Obviously had a few games where he didn't look great. He had a game where he was concussed. But overall, to take a team that nobody thought was going to do anything, win 10 games, and make it to the playoffs is remarkable. Like, it's absolutely remarkable. And the way that they played against the Colts, it was pretty much AFC South football, but they got the job done. And that's the kind of thing that you want to see out of your young quarterback. So the Texans, I thought, were a great story heading into it. In that division, the Jacksonville Jaguars were the exact opposite. Now, I should say that the Jacksonville Jaguars did not play their best football down the stretch. I think they were 8-3 at one point, finished 1-5. You never want to see that. I do have to say, though, that Trevor Lawrence was hurt. He had a shoulder problem, and that's kind of a, that's kind of a big, you have to give some credit for that. But I do think, though, and I think it's fair criticism that coming into this season, the way that the Jacksonville Jaguars ended their season last year, they look great. They get a big win in the playoffs against the Chargers, and they honestly look great against the Chiefs, who went on to win the Super Bowl. And I think you had to give them credit for that. Thing about it, though, is you have to follow that up with a good season. And Doug Peterson is a good head coach. He's a Super Bowl winning head coach. And whether Trevor Lawrence was hurt or not, and obviously Christian Kirk was hurt too, but the team just did not look right. The team did not look like they were playing winning football. And that game yesterday against the Titans, who had nothing to lose, right? Nothing to lose. Derrick Henry's moving on. Most likely, Mike Vrabel is moving on, whether it's to Ohio State, whether it's to New England, it doesn't matter. There's going to be a lot of turnover in Nashville. And so that's a dangerous team, especially when it's a division rival, and it's a division rival that you can keep out of the playoffs. And they did that, right? They did that. And I love that because the Jacksonville Jaguars needed to win that game. They could not win that game. And the coach is here. I'm going on a rant about the NFL. We're just talking right now about I was just talking about the Jags, right? How I think that it's fair to say that the Jags blew it yesterday.
Yeah.
And down the stretch, because they were 8-3. Trevor Lawrence was hurt. I get it. They also had Christian Kirk was hurt, but that team just never looked right down the stretch. It didn't look like a well-coached team, didn't look like a winning team, and they blew it. They absolutely blew it.
Yeah, I mean, that division was right for the picking this year. You know what I mean? Like, the Colts obviously lost their, first-round draft quarterback. They rolled with Gardner Minshew, who is a above-average backup, I would say.
But he didn't play above average.
No, he did not. No. I mean, his playing above average got them there, but he did not play above average in that game by any means. You have the Texans with a rookie quarterback. You have the aging Titans without a quarterback, really. So, I mean, that division was prime for the Jaguars to run away with it. And, I mean, they were kind of the consensus pick from the beginning of the season, right?
Well, the thing is, man, and this is the way I started off, is I feel like the Jags after last year, they had a lot to build on, right? They started 8-3. Let's not forget that. But they faded. And the Houston Texans, who I just lauded a second ago, won the division in a scenario that 0 people saw coming. I don't care if you live in Houston. I don't care if you're the biggest diehard Texans fan. Nobody thought that they were going to win the division. Nobody.
No, and I mean, I think going into the year, they were sort of widely regarded as one of the worst teams in the league, or people
Yes.
expected them to be. And for them to not just be average, but to win the division, a bad division, but to win the division and to play pretty well, um, front to back throughout the season is impressive. And I'm sure you've probably already made your bid for uh D'Amico Ryans to be the
Oh,
coach of the year.
okay. Unquestionably the coach of the year. Unquestionably CJ Stroud is the offensive rookie of the year. Unquestionably. Like there's because again, none of this was happening. Now, and I said this yesterday, like there are to you that the Colts coach might actually be in consideration for it because without your rookie and a bunch of players that not many people can name to go 9-8 with a backup, it's pretty damn good coaching.
It is. Now, what about Dan Campbell? And that's not even I mean, obviously it's on the record how much I enjoy
Right.
him and the Lions, but
I would agree with you if not for the fact that almost everybody had the Lions picked to win that division. The Texans were bottom feeders. No, like that's what makes it so insane. First year head coach, first year quarterback, and they go in 10 games. Even just winning 10 games would have been coach of the year material. But to win your division, that's insane. Like that's just insane.
yeah. No, I mean, I'm trying to think if there's any time like in recent history that we've seen something like that.
I don't I can't
Now
think of it. Brady in 2001 coming in for Bledsoe and winning the Super Bowl, which is
maybe, but
insane.
the NFL though at the same time, like is set up for quick turnarounds and parity probably more than any other
Yes, but
pro sports league.
not with that franchise, man. That franchise hasn't been good almost at all. They've ruined how many quarterbacks? Ask what David Carr got sacked like 86 times in this first year.
When it, I mean, was it Matt Schaub? He was okay there
He was okay.
with
Yeah.
Andre Johnson.
Yeah, they were okay, and then they would meet the Patriots in the playoffs every year and lose like 50-10 because they were okay, but they weren't great.
But if that's, let's be fair. For a
No, I don't
good,
want to be fair.
no, for a good 15 to 20 years, they played with Peyton Manning and Andrew Luck in the division. The Titans were really good for a good stretch of time through there. And now the Jags have kind of had their little flashes in the pan, but they have not been consistently good. But
True.
I mean, there was a time when this division was much tougher than it is right now. And I think that all things, being considered, I don't think that the Texans were trash by any means, but what they've done this year, just in a vacuum, I mean, what they've done with the personnel they had coming into the season and where the expectations were, there's no denying it's been impressive.
Okay, that's fair. Let me see.
So, man, like I gotta decompress a little bit. I tell you what,
Okay,
I
go
gotta
ahead.
find a way.
Yes.
There's got to be a way out there. If just before my children are like 16 years old, if I could master bedtime,
Never.
would make my life so much better, so much
Never.
less stressful.
I know.
Because it's like there's just so many things, and to me, they're insignificant, but to them, they're like the world, and so many things you gotta. It's just pure chaos.
Speaking of pure chaos, first of all, I want to shout out our Pacific Northwest friend. By the way, if you're comfortable, drop that first name in the feed because I don't know what to call you, Pacific Northwest man or whatever you want to call it. But Dan Lanning is on the broadcast right now, and that can't be good because boo.
Oh, I'm sure.
I'm no right. And then is that Joey Galloway who can still run a 4.2 on the broadcast? I think so. But
I'll tell
anyway,
you in 4 minutes.
I know, right? Anyway, but I wanted to shout out our Pacific Northwest friend because he's a Seahawks fan. So he was just talking about how Seahawks need to fire Pete. Now, I want to say this is the guy that I thought was trashing us on Thanksgiving. And turns out he was just talking about the game. And he was very adamant about Pete Carroll leaving. Now, Pete Carroll just said that he plans on coaching next season. He's going to be 73 years old. Bless him. I hope I look and feel as good at 73 as he does. But here's a fan talking about needing to draft a young quarterback and needing to basically rebuild that team. And that was a team that reminds me very much of the Patriots the last couple years in that you move on from your guy because Russ was their guy. They won a Super Bowl, almost won two with Russ. And then you move on from him and you kind of the middle of the pack for a while. And that never helps because you almost can't rebuild. Like, I think Geno is fine. Do you know what I mean when I say that?
His ceiling is like a B.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
And when you get the B game, like, well, okay, so he averages out to a B, but like when you get the A game, it looks great. But you get a lot of C minus games in there too. And
Yes.
not because he throws like a shit ton of picks or something, but it's like he's just average. And I just feel like he's not the guy, even though you had to sign him because he had the one good year, the year he needed to have it, which is when when you're up for free agency. Good for him. But they kind of do need to blow it up. And that's what I said about the Patriots all season long is I'm like, once they started like 1-4, just keep on losing because there's no like they're not going to get any better by being 7-10
So I see the Patriots are a little different because of who the coach is and the
for
dynasty
now.
factor. But I think I see some parallels between the Seahawks and the Steelers. You've got two coaches who have won Super Bowls, who for the most part have put together winning seasons, who have lost their franchise quarterbacks that have moved on or retired, and have been kind of have struggled on the other end of that a little bit, but still managed to be average to above average. You know, like the Steelers are in the playoffs yet again, despite like
Mike
I,
Tomlin's never had a losing record.
no, but like I mean, he's gonna turn into freaking Marvin Lewis before it's all said and done,
They
just
just they
because they're
just made
just
it to
so
the playoff.
average.
Mason Rudolph,
Right.
right? It's unbelievable. So let's backtrack because I was filibustering until you got here. So I was if I didn't know when you were gonna show up, so I was like, well, I'll talk about the NFL for the entirety of halftime. But let's go back to the game at hand, which is a national championship. And I was kind of bantering back and forth and talking about it, but I want to ask you that fourth down play that Michigan just missed and allowed Washington to get the ball with great field position to come down and score. Do you like the aggressiveness, or do you feel like they had the game in a stranglehold at that point in time and you kind of getting a little cute there and trying to do a little bit too much when you don't want to give Washington an in, and they gave them a little bit of an in, and now they're going to get the ball at halftime, and possibly this could be a tie game really quickly.
Yeah, the table's set for this to be a great ball game. Now Washington's got to come out and
42-10
but
Michigan.
they've got to come out and score. I didn't see the play because I was in the midst of the chaos with
Yeah,
bedtime, but I think that
the
yeah, if you're
process is what I'm
Michigan,
asking about.
obviously like Washington has started to figure some things out on the defensive side of the ball. And if I'm you, like, hey, cut your losses. Like they've gotten within a score, they've got the momentum. Don't do anything to I guess that was before they got within a score, right?
Yeah, it
Or
was
whatever.
17-3.
But like that you could feel they were gaining some confidence. You know, why
Give it
give them that
more.
opportunity? Just kind of take the air out of the ball, get into halftime, make whatever adjustments you need to make on offense to counter what Washington's done to start to stop you and slow you down. And but what Herm Edwards, right? You play to win the game,
You
right?
do. No,
And
I get it. I know what you're saying, but like this is where I struggle with football now because today's game and today's coaching, they always talk about analytics and I can get behind that to an extent. But there are times, and I was actually listening to Chris Sims talk about the Browns this year where they played the Jets, they're up 13-7, and they go for it on like 4th and 5 within their 10-yard line. And it's like take the 3 points and go up 16-7. Put some pressure on the other team. But by going for it, not getting it, you're allowing the other team just like, hey, do you want to get back into this game? And that's what I thought of. I was like, it's 4th and 3. You're on, I think Michigan was on the Washington like 40. So I get it. You're in that no man's land area. But Washington hadn't really been moving the football at all or not consistently. And I was like, let your defense continue to do what it's done all season long. And I think that they gave them an in. We'll see what happens, right? Like if Washington comes out and it's 3-and-out, then fine. But I just didn't like it only because it felt like Michigan didn't have to take that chance because they had they were playing so well, I guess, up until that point. I don't know if that made
Yeah,
any
I
sense.
think when you get into games, like you get into the national championship game where everything's on the line, yes, like you want to consider analytics, but a lot of like analytics and the by the book stuff sort of goes out the window in these types of moments. It's the same reason in baseball that you see, um, starting pitchers coming in to throw the seventh, eighth, ninth inning in the World Series and stuff. I mean,
Yep.
you throw conventional thinking out the window and even analytics to do whatever it takes to win the game. And and I'm not saying that in favor of their decision. I think that,
Yeah.
it's one thing, like, if you wanna use your analytics in the second week of the season against Bob's technical college or whatever, but when we get to, since it's a national championship, yes, I get what the analytics might say, but read the room a little bit, um,
Yes.
and you know what I mean, and go from there, but who knows? It may be totally inconsequential, like you said, Washington come out, go 3 and out, Michigan could drive the ball right down the field and score. Now we got a 2-score ball game, and I think at that point, if it gets to 3 scores, it's over. I
As
think
is the
as long as it's
speed.
within 2 scores, as long as it's within 2 scores, I think that Washington's within striking distance just because of how explosive their offense can be. And what if
Yes.
Penix wouldn't have missed that throw
I know.
on that 4th down?
I know. And it's like we talked about the other day. By the way, you know how you talk about chaos at bedtime? I was told to bring up Cindy Lou Who because the Grinch is still very much alive and well in James's world. So, but oh man, like the thing about the like games like this is a winner take all. Obviously, that's an obvious statement, but like you have to think about there is no tomorrow. So I understand being aggressive to a point, but um, they also Washington to the comments point here. They have a hurt running back now. I
I
don't know,
agree.
and it's like, look, man, it's the second half. Like, and you hate to see it because as a coach, you would hate for like this is a guy who got you here, who helped get you here, but this is the last game, the biggest game that you're gonna play in. They may not ever make it back here, and you hate to tell the guy, look, got to go with the fresh hand. Like you got to go with the fresh feet. You have to.
Now there does appear, I mean, in my opinion, there appears to be a fairly decent drop off, right, from him to the next
Sure.
guy. But I think that you would be better off playing a guy that's on 2
Healthy.
healthy legs, because it's very obvious
Oh yes.
that, especially when he runs to his left, as they said on the broadcast, I mean, he cannot plant his left foot and get downhill with any authority or explosiveness whatsoever. And I think Herb Street mentioned it on one of
He
the
did.
runs he had there in the second quarter. Like what was like a 2 or 3 yard run, probably for him was 6 or 7 if he's healthy.
He's
And
yeah.
that
Kirk said he's like 70%, and I'm like, he does not
no
look
way. No,
70%.
maybe when the game started before he
Yeah,
got rolled up on that play early on, but no, I think that it is hurting them, and I understand you wanna do right by the kid because he probably wants to be out there,
I agree.
but
But
you have, whatever, 60 other guys on that team you need to do right by at
yeah,
the same time.
you got to win. This is about winning this football game. And the thing is, Washington is already at a disadvantage, top to bottom, probably when it comes to like I would say they probably have the better quarterback and they may have a better receiver. But other than that, I think Michigan, if you look at the totality of these teams, is the better football team. And so Washington can't really afford to have a guy out there who's not producing. And that's just my opinion. And look, I've never coached football. I've never played, blah, 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 blah. But like you want to do right by the kid, but the kid's gonna feel good if they win the football game. If they lose it because he can't make a cut, I don't think that's gonna make him feel better because he was out there.
That's
Do you?
I don't know that kid at all, but I got to assume if they leave him out there and let's say that they lose this game and it's close, um, you you can't help but think that he's gonna wonder for the rest of his life, like, what if they would have put somebody else in? Would that have been the difference? And I guarantee you, he would rather live the rest of his life knowing they won the game by
Yes.
playing, a healthy back, as opposed to they came up just a little bit short because the coach kept him in there and he wanted to stay out there. Uh, I agree with the commenter that it's the most important thing to do is win the game. And yeah, you're doing right by the kid. You're doing right by everyone else on the team. Um, if you put the guys on the field to give you the best chance to win. And how would you feel if you're the backup running back? You're like, man, they got this guy out there on one leg
How does it
ahead of
make me
me.
feel?
They
Yeah.
must have no faith in me. But I also heard him say there's like 1,000-yard discrepancy
Yeah,
between
no,
him and the
I
two.
understand. I mean, if that's your workhorse guy, because in college it's a lot different. There are workhorse backs in college than there are in the NFL. I mean, Bijan Robinson is a great example. So like a lot of these good teams, Blake Corum, a lot of these good teams have that, as you call it, the bell cow back, but they have those guys that they lean on for the 1,400 yard seasons. It's different once you get to the NFL. The scheming is completely different. And so I can understand there being a large chasm between the two, but like also, you know how we talked about with bowl season, that kid, the backup, might be your main guy next year. So if he's not ready to come in this game, then when the hell is he going to be ready? Because like they need him now. By the way, the game has restarted for me, and oh boy, and
I'm seeing them like getting ready to kick it off right now. So yeah, you are
I'm just
definitely
saying I'm going to try not to give it away.
okay.
But I just say, oh
Um,
boy. But let's just say that the kickoff has happened and Michael Penix has dropped back one time thus far. That's what I'm seeing.
okay,
But
so I just saw the touchback, so I haven't seen the first snap
yeah,
yet. So
yeah.
it's getting ready to occur. But
This actually
no,
kind of makes it fun
I
that
think
I'm a
so
little
too.
bit ahead because I have to try that. Remember the last time we did this, I think, or the last time, one of the times we did the live show, we have not done a watch party together yet. And I I reacted to that catch in the Oregon game at the end of the half, the Pac-12 title game, because the Oregon kid made that ridiculous catch. And there, Mike is obviously ahead of us as well. Oh, look who's here, our
Oh
super
man,
fan. Yep.
dang! And
So
almost like you bobbled it too. Do they review it or is it?
yes, they review every turnover. So right now there is a Michael Penix interception that is under review. But if this is the way that the half is starting and Michigan scores, like that's about you talk about worst
Yeah,
case scenario. And Penix took a big hit. Yep, Michigan gets the ball. So they did the review, and Michigan does
got
have the ball.
got
Just so you
tipped.
know,
Got
yeah,
tipped. Right?
it did.
Yeah, that
It did.
sucks.
Yep. But that's just lots of pressure. They came with pressure
Oh,
on that play, and Michael Penix. I'll be honest with you, that throw that
it's
Michael
so
Penix,
close to not being a catch too.
it is definitely really
Wow.
close. Michael Penix maybe shouldn't have thrown. I don't know. He was under a lot of pressure, and there are two guys over
Well,
there.
and honestly, maybe his intention when he was releasing the ball was to throw it away, like throw it over their heads out of bounds. But
It's
when he
possible,
got
yeah.
hit,
It's very
um,
possible, but yeah. So,
that's tough.
but maybe this is what Michigan banked on all along. Is like, nah, we got this. Like maybe,
So,
maybe Harbaugh. Harbaugh strikes me as the kind of guy that'd be that way. As the
what
guy
do you
who's
mean?
like go for it on fourth down. He's like, even if they fucking get it, we're gonna win this game. Like I'm good.
Maybe.
You know what I mean? Like he kind of strikes. He has to know what he has. This is the best team he's ever had.
Yeah, I trust our guys, right? I
Exactly.
like him a lot. I know there's people that really dislike him,
I
but
don't.
I love the guy because I think he's very authentic. I think he's exactly himself, and I don't think that you get a different version of him if met him privately somewhere or whatever. I think he's exactly himself all the time.
Which is what makes this interesting for if he goes to the NFL, because I wonder to myself, if they win the national championship, does he go for the Super Bowl? Because you go back to your alma mater and you win a national championship. This is a school that has been starved for a national championship for a while. Was it 97, I think? And with Charles Woodson. And you're a hero, right? The conquering hero. He never pays for a meal again in Ann Arbor, ever. He doesn't have to coach another game. Like, do you go out on a high note and you try to make it in the NFL? Because remember, he was like a pass away from winning the Super Bowl. Or do you do the Nick Saban thing and just create a legacy? I'm not sure if Harbaugh's the legacy kind of guy in college. You know what I mean?
Well, especially, I mean, you could say that with all the controversy that's surrounded the program, like since he's been there with different things. I mean, we don't have to debate the legitimacy of any of it, but there certainly has been a lot of controversy. And I think that you don't see enough people anymore, man, that go out on top. Whether it's
Mm-mm.
players,
Even
coaches,
Brady
man,
couldn't do
they
it.
stick around, man, and it's like just right off into the sunset.
You'd
I
think
mean,
so.
why? And I get, hey, you feel like you can keep playing, play up, whatever. But
Is
to
it
be
different for
able,
coaches, though?
mm, I don't know. I mean, why not? Like you said, man. Like, why not go out on top? Like, why risk tarnishing your legacy?
If he wins this national championship, they're going to build a statue for the guy. Like,
Oh, for
you know
sure.
what I'm saying? Like, because this is a school that has been waiting for this for a while. Like I said, it's been almost 30 years. It's been a long time. So if he is able to and when they brought him in, this was what they were bringing him in for. And the way he started, losing to Michigan State and Ohio State so often. Remember the block punt
Yeah.
against Michigan State? Stuff like that kept happening. And then it finally started to turn around. But this is the kind of thing where they wanted to get rid of him, and they brought him in for the long build. And that's what happened. And this is the culmination of that. All those losses and everything that they had to TCU, to Georgia, got them to this moment. But if you're him, it will not get any better than this. Like, this doesn't end. Like, Nick Saban, at some point, he's going to either walk away and he may walk away when they're back to being like 6-6. It's never going to end the way you think it's going to end.
No, likely not. And what's interesting, I heard something this morning on the radio. I don't know how true it is, but they mentioned that after they had lost to Ohio State a few times in a row, that Jim called John, his brother, and said,
Sure.
"Hey, like, we can't figure out how to stop these guys. We can't figure out how to beat these guys." And he brought in a couple of his buddies from the Ravens in the offseason, and they basically sat down and revamped the defense um, with the intention of finding out how to stop Ohio State, and they haven't lost to him since.
Field goal for Michigan. I know you're a little behind, but
That is a win, man.
it is a
Based off
win
what
for
happened.
sure. I agree. So I feel like I can say field goal. Like, I'll try not to
Well, I saw the
blow big
penalties.
plays for you, but
I saw the
you know,
couple penalties, and then it looks like they're getting ready to kick the field goal here in a second on my
yep,
end. So,
yep,
um,
big field. That's a huge win, because when you start off first pass, interception, turnover deep in your own territory, and to only give up 3 points, especially the way Michigan looked. Like, that's one thing I will say too, is like Michigan looked so dominant at first, and the Washington defense was so confused. Like, on that 45-yard touchdown run,
yes,
nobody had any clue what their assignments were whatsoever. The lane opened up larger than when Moses parted the Red Sea. Like, I'm pretty sure I could have hit that hole and gotten like 5 yards because I'm
yeah,
slow as shit.
yeah,
So, like,
they looked a
that,
little lost for sure. And
and
what's
they're putting it together.
what's nice about this is this doesn't change anything, because even if um, they held them to no points here, you were still going to have to score twice to win this game. When it was 17-10, you were going to have to score twice to win this game.
Yep.
It's 20-10. You still got to score twice to win this game. So this changes nothing, and not the best possible outcome, but you'll take it
Yeah,
for sure.
absolutely. By the way, first time ever during a live feed, we got a text message to the number that is on the bottom here.
Nice.
And yes, and it is actually from a friend of mine who is a sneaker friend of mine. His name is KJ, lives in Oklahoma. He's an Air Force guy, actually. And he's tuned in for the first time, I think, in one of these live shows. So he wanted to give the Iceman a little shout out, because KJ and he's one of the people. So I told everybody that I have a sneaker podcast and YouTube channel called Fire Footwear, which you should 100% subscribe to right now. And anyway, he's one of the people that has reached out to me about the show, like found the show probably like a year ago, had been listening before then. And he and I kind of sparked up a friendship. So he supports the network whenever he can. And it's always nice to it's nice to like get love in the feed. I mean, this is one of the biggest audiences concurrently that we've ever had on YouTube. And I realize 8 is not a lot, but folks, we started with 1. So can we just...
Yeah, many times we've sat here and talked to each other with nobody. So
I talked to myself for the first like
right.
5 minutes of this until our Pacific Northwest friend showed up, and I was pleasantly surprised that I had somebody to banter with back and forth. And then he dipped out, and it was just me for a while. But this has started when we started doing these live shows. I was talking about that, how the progression of all this, and now we're really finding our groove with the live audience and the live show, and we're hoping to adapt that and make it more commonplace for our content and on this channel going forward, because it's been a lot of fun. Like, these watch parties, this is the first, like Mike and I have had 2 games. Like we should have stayed on for the second half of the Rose Bowl because that was epic. It was an epic end of the game, but we didn't. And mistakes
This might be
were made.
this might be the route to go. Is to
Yeah, I
because to
agree.
stay on for 3 hours is a
That's a lot.
lot.
I couldn't
But
do it.
no, but to come on in the middle of a game and try to keep it through the end or close to the end or once that's sort of decided, totally different story because you're talking about some more like the game's established, some more meaningful banter could happen at that point in time. And but a couple things that stuck out to me, like
Yep.
that video, that like intro video they played at the beginning, I thought that
Yep.
was sweet, man.
Oh yeah.
And just
And
the atmosphere there seems like it is electric, which is
dude,
awesome.
one of the things that I love, and this is one thing that WWE does very well these days, is like those like hype videos. Oh my God, I'm such a sucker for those. The production is always amazing. And like so often I'll come into, like, I only watch a couple of wrestling events every year. Usually one is like right around the corner here and then WrestleMania sometimes. And like the opening is always amazing. I went to WrestleMania 35. So this was 2019. And like the opening had me so jazzed. I had like tears and I'm like, this is ridiculous. Like this is a professional wrestling event, but they get you sucked in every time with these sports things. They always get you sucked in with the history and like the slow motion and like this, oh man. And then they build to that crescendo of like, you're ready to bust the doors open. Like I'm ready to play. Like, let's go. And I love that shit.
Yeah, it's great. I mean, even I probably even in pro sports, it's been a long time since I've been to a pro football game.
Yeah.
But like anytime I've gone to a Notre Dame game, same deal, man. Like intro videos leading up to them coming out on the field and everything, and just kind of works everybody into a frenzy. And I mean, I can only imagine it's multiplied in a situation like this because of what's at stake. So I mean, so I just saw the 1st and 10 run for 4 to 5 yards. So you're probably to 3rd down already, or 1st down if they get it.
Yeah.
So
Michael Penix they just ran a screenplay on 1st and 10. So they got that 1st down and have just run their, and that's going to be a penalty. Has to be a penalty.
on Michigan.
Yes. Very obvious. Like, very obvious penalty on Michigan that just happened on that screenplay that Washington picked up had a pretty good pickup there. And then Michigan, see, this is what I'm talking about. Okay. This stuff, I know that Michigan got the turnover, but you cannot start to unravel at the seams and start doing undisciplined things. This is to me a byproduct of that 4th down that they went for it, right? You let Washington back in, and like that was what just happened here is completely unnecessary. So after that first down play, you let me know what you think. But
It's the play is starting right now on my end, so let's see what we got here.
Completely unnecessary, in my opinion. I don't know anything, but it's unnecessary. So Michigan,
that's stupid.
And,
you know what? I was surprised to talk back. To reference back to last week, the semifinal games. I thought there were a lot of like borderline should have been called like unnecessary roughness late hits out of bounds that happened, but they let them go both ways. So I was like,
how is
I was
this
like,
possible?
okay, I guess.
How is it possible that somebody is behind you? You're in the same house.
Well, we're the same streaming stuff, but I guarantee I don't know, man. Like it's when we're streaming on the Fire Sticks or whatever, So I'm actually on my phone.
I'm very lucky.
In front of me.
I can't turn the camera here, but I have a 60-inch television off camera right over here, and it makes it a lot easier to do these.
I got one I could get
parties
set up down here, but
just do it right now.
Just
like turn the camera around, and everybody can see you setting it up and cursing because
on
you're
top
trying
of my
to get
daughter's dollhouse that's right over here.
Get it set up before they get that's a good thing. We should have done a little halftime show game. Can Brad put the TV up before halftime is over? That would have been a nice little gag. We could have placed wagers on it.
We definitely could have, because I got the one.
Didn't you just buy a TV?
Yeah, so the one I replaced is still a functional TV. It's literally just sitting in storage.
My apologies to Brad's wife if she's watching out of solidarity, but that's if that's PTSD reminder.
No, it was
not my idea, by the way.
Mutual decision. Man, TV Talk really ran off our following.
Wow, we went from 9 to 0. Oh, there you go. see, I don't know how that is, like, because like if somebody goes to another app and then comes back, like I don't know how that works. Who cares?
Yeah, who knows?
Who cares? All I know is that we're having fun. So
All right,
just so you
so
know, it will be a field goal attempt for Washington coming up here.
damn it, man.
Yeah, I know. Yep. And it's good. So
All right, that makes me
20 to
feel a little
13.
better.
Yep, 20 to 13. Hey Rick, it's 20 to 13. Just so you know, that's gonna happen. I have a DeLorean. I came back from the future, and I know it's gonna happen. Hey, what do you make of them playing this game at a stadium like this? Like it's completely neutral. Like, do you think that that's the way it should go?
I could see both sides of this argument. We talked the other day about we talked on Friday about like the Rose Bowl maybe being a permanent site. There's several other stadiums you could throw into the ring with that, but the one thing that is nice about this is it's completely neutral, but not by design because
No,
Texas could have easily been playing in this game.
correct.
So I mean these things like the Super Bowls, I'm sure are bid
So
on years in advance.
yeah, and so
So
rarely. I mean, only what like I think it was 2 years in a row. Remember, no team had ever played a home game in the Super Bowl. Whoa, this is big. We have live from the stadium, Dave watching his team right now. Dave, we hope you're having a great time. Please stop watching us and please go enjoy yourself.
probably so loud he can't hear us.
Oh,
Unless
he's
he's like
probably got headphones in. Listen, this is the same man. I think it was 2 years ago, and Dave can correct me if I'm wrong, but he went to a Lions-Rams game the year the Rams won the Super Bowl. So he and his now wife went out there to visit some family, and they went to a Rams game at SoFi. And he had Red Zone on while he was at SoFi. The man is a legend. And so I can understand why I just don't know why he's watching this when he probably should be watching the broadcast of the game, because he does have tickets that are very, very high up. So I can understand people watching the game to try to see like the microtransactions, because it's a big game. I mean, this is the biggest game for him in so long, because he remembers the national title game and all that stuff. So, and this is good intel. We should have gotten a video of this at halftime. We should have really thought this through, but we didn't because we're amateurs. That's how this goes. But it sounds like that. And honestly, the crowd kind of did sound more Michigan heavy, and it makes sense.
Yeah, I agree.
But I don't even know. Like it's technically like, I don't want to say equidistant between Michigan and Washington, but I would assume that it's probably easier to get there from Michigan than Seattle. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I guess my first reaction is Houston does not scream college football to me.
No,
But I mean, Texas though, and it
Yes.
is a football state, and obviously you have UT and A&M and other prominent programs that are there in the state. So both fans booing the shit out of the TV commercial guy. That's funny.
all the time,
The worst job.
Yes.
I hate that, man. Like whenever we go to Notre Dame, you see the guy walk out with the sign with the 5 minutes or whatever on it. Just watch it count down. I'm like,
That is an update. So when I was at Virginia Tech, I remember we moved. If I have told the story, please stop me. But when we moved from the Big East to the ACC, it was a guy who had red on, and he always walked out. He had like a red hat and a red like windbreaker, and we had no clue why he was out there. And we noticed that when he was out there, it was longer in stoppage of play. And then we came to find out later on in the season, as we got a couple of home games in, that was the TV guy, right? That was the TV timeout guy. And so it started to happen where every time he'd come out, he'd start to get booed. Now, when I went to Blacksburg this last, I don't know, September, the guy had a countdown, the clock. And I'm like, this would have been awesome to have 20 years ago, because we would have at least known what was going on, because you never knew how long it was going to be. He just stood there. And then he would do the thing that like the refs do when they say like move the clock, and then we would finally like cheer him. So I'm glad to see that this is a tradition unlike any other.
that is hilarious, dude. Like,
isn't it great?
Your depiction of that is great. That's just, I mean, he's just a walking stop sign.
That's
what
all
he
it
was.
is. But we had no idea. Like, it's just a guy with khakis and a red jacket on, and we're like, who is this guy? Because you don't
wonderful.
Yeah, and but he wouldn't even stand. He would stand like just off of the sideline, right? Like only a couple yards out there, and he would just stand there. And we're high up in Lane Stadium. We can't see. Does he have a headset? Like, what's he doing? And then he would walk off, and then the thing is, both teams would be ready to go, and they're just staring at the guy over there, and it's like, who is this fucking guy? And then finally they'd start playing. It was like the second his foot got off of the sideline, onto the sideline, they would snap the ball. Like that's how quickly they couldn't wait for it. I don't know why it changed when we moved to the ACC. I don't know, because this was before ACC Network. So I don't know. It's like, were we not on TV before? I have no idea. Maybe nationally broadcast games. I don't know.
Have they aired the NCAA 24 commercial yet?
I don't know. I'm very excited about this. As Brad knows, I just bought a PlayStation 5. And so the idea of getting a college football game after so long, oh my God. You're never going to see me again.
$1,000
Oh, I'd pay it.
for this game.
Actually, they can just take my money now. I'll give my credit card right
pay
here.
it, dude. Like no questions asked.
Yes. And Dave is spending this time the wrong way, but it's great for us because this is just, yes. I would text his, so for everybody who is brand new to this, Dave is one of the hosts of Political Football, which is another show on the network. It's a YouTube channel. They do have audio, but mostly a YouTube channel. One of the co-hosts on there is Scott Bischoff, who is a Lions podcaster, actually, and he does some scouting. But the other guy is our friend, Cleveland, who's today's his 50th birthday. I would text Cleve to tell him that Dave is wasting his time at the game watching us on his phone, but I don't know if Cleve has a special night.
I think this is great.
Would you do this? Like, now, maybe this is something that we've missed out on this year. Maybe Dave is opening up this can of worms for us where, because you and I did spoil this earlier, that we are thinking about a union trip we've never met before, of going to the first round of the NCAA tournament in Charlotte for the first 2 rounds. And in my mind, I was like, maybe leave the equipment at home. Like, we do this all the time. And then Dave is obviously proving to us, because our numbers shot up the second he came in, that maybe this is the kind of content people want. People want to know what we're doing.
Well, I just think the live fan reaction, like in the moment, is great.
Think about this.
That's what I like.
If I'm ahead of you and you're ahead of your father, imagine how ahead he is, because he's literally at the game. There is no delay for him.
What's interesting too, though, is that just if someone's watching the feed, like, you've seen it probably before we've talked about it, before like this transmission gets to your ears.
I think Dave said it right there. If Michigan loses, he has to pick a different birthday. I think that's fair.
I will tune into PF to hear that debate.
Now,
for sure.
See, when Dave, we have a text string with me and the guys during football season all year, but mostly it's super active during football season, obviously. And when Dave said he was going to this game, my first thought was, oh God, I hope they don't lose, because I know, me personally, it would be one of those things where somebody would tell me, they'd be like, well, at least you got the experience. I'd lose it. Like, I'd just lose it. I'd be like, are you kidding me? I just spent so much money and they lost. Like, it feels like a total waste. Like, because you go there with the intent of them winning.
Like, I didn't pay a dime for the tickets that we had to the Ohio State Notre Dame game.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously the other expenses, were costly, but
sure.
Yeah, but even then, like, the fact that they lost to Ohio State and then the fashion that they lost, it was like just so deflating. And it wasn't the national championship game. And I could only imagine, like, with the investment that he's made to be there and it being his team playing for a national title, that it would be really tough to walk out of there if it doesn't go their way. Just saying, well, you know what? Hey, at least we got to experience this.
Yes.
Well,
because like that's the tough part. So it's in a commercial right now. So if you found this and you're like, why the hell aren't they talking about the game? Well, it's in a commercial, and honestly, this is a watch party. We can do whatever the hell we want. But I remember this. This is a good story. 2005, I think it was the second year that Virginia Tech was in the ACC. The first year they won it before the ACC title game was a thing, and they won. They used to do it the old school way. Like, you had the best record in the conference, you won the conference, and so Virginia Tech inexplicably won. And the next year they played Florida State in the first ever ACC championship game. Florida State was like an 8-4 team. Virginia Tech, I think, was like 11-1. And Florida State beat them. And the next day, my mom called me and was like, she asked, how you doing? And I told her about it, and she goes, no, well. And I'm like, what do you mean, oh, well? I was like, they just lost the conference title game. Like, this is bullshit. And I'm like, I can't deal with this anymore. I told her, she's like, I watched the game. I was like, you're forbidden from watching the game. You cannot do this. I'm
Dude,
not quite so crazy.
all right, so, like, I have this inner dialogue, like, especially, like, at Bradley games. Like, I'll sit there, and if things aren't going well, like, even last year when they played Drake, to win the conference, and there's a stretch of time where it was like maybe not going so great, and I'm sitting there myself, I'm like, man, like I'm way too like emotionally tied up in this. I'm like, you know what, like this doesn't dictate anything in my life. Like this is just fun and entertainment. Like I'm literally like just trying to build myself up to not be disappointed if it doesn't go like my way or whatever, and just trying to like diminish how relevant it is. And but at the same time, like that's the reason we all do this, man. That's why we all immerse ourselves in these fan experiences, because it is like um you get to just kind of sit there and be along for the ride of something you have zero control over. And just like a lot of other things in life, it's got the highest of highs, and you experience some of the, well, not like real world lows, but lowest of lows from a fan perspective. And but like he said, like my dad said, you gotta take the good with the bad.
You do have to take the good with the bad. So to get back to this game here, Washington is driving. It is first down. They are on their 42-yard line. So they have gotten the ball back, and oh my goodness, what was that? That was a broken
camera.
Oh, cool. This is great. As we have the most people we've ever had concurrently, the camera doesn't work. This is why we do it live. It's fun here.
So I think I need a new adapter.
That is okay. Maybe you need a new camera in general, but let's say to everybody that is
a new
here,
camera.
Whatever. Let's say that everybody here, if you are brand new to INC, we thank you for even tuning in for half of a second. But if you are new and you like what you see, please make sure to comment. Let us know who you're rooting for in this game. Who do you think is going to pull this out? We're heading toward the end of the third quarter here. There's about 5.5 minutes to go. Washington has the football second down, and it's still anybody's game. It is a close game, and we will see what happens. So Washington is doing their best to wow. I think this is funny, man. So I don't know if you can see the comments here, but your dad,
I can see him. Oh yeah.
Yes. And didn't you get your face from his? So I'm not sure.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I always hear how much I look like him.
So Rick just put himself down all at the same time. But
I'm going to hop out and come back and see if that helps.
Yes, he's going to hop out. This will be the second time I'll have been alone during this feed. Everybody, thanks for your patience. Yes, I love watching you guys live. Jonah has been one of our most ardent supporters, as has Rick. And honestly, we can't thank you enough for this. So while Brad fixes his technological difficulties, I'm not sure if Dave is still with us. I would assume, given the fact that Washington is driving here, that perhaps maybe he has decided to pay attention to the game. Brad is back. You missed absolutely nothing outside of there being a penalty. It looks like a false start on Washington, so I'm sure that will help their cause, as is now. They're going for a 3rd and 15 as of my broadcast right now. So we will see what happens there. So you didn't miss anything else. I don't know if Dave is still here. I would have to assume that he popped in just to have a few laughs, and he's got to be concentrated on this game. But man, those Michigan fans are loud right now. I don't even have the volume on, but they look loud.
You see them in the background. Yeah, they look loud.
I know. I always like that visual in college basketball when you're getting toward NCAA tournament time and you're at, a really good arena, and man, those fans are, oh, wow.
What happened? Tell me.
Oh, no, I thought it was an out of bounds. So either way, it was out of bounds, but I thought that the kid came down with it anyway, but he did not. So it'll be 4th down for Washington, probably going to punt since they are on their own side of the field. Michigan looks to get the ball back, up 7 as we are nearing the end. Excuse me. Good Lord, that was disgusting. As we near the end of the fourth quarter, or the end of the third quarter, and we head into the fourth. It's still actually, when I said that, it was 5:37. There's 5:25 left, so 12 seconds have gone by. So never mind.
My parlay is still in play. What
was that?
I parlayed Washington plus 5.5, under 55.5 for the total.
Yeah.
Just a 10 spot, nothing crazy.
So here's a comment that I want to get over, because the Pacific Northwest guy said this earlier. Maybe Penix is off tonight, but I think it's more a product of this is the best defense, as you said, that they've ever faced. And so I think he's off
100%.
because they're so good. This defense is so good. And this is not meant to take a shot at any of the other defenses that are it's not meant to take a shot at any of the other defense that they played. I mean, obviously Oregon was very good this year, and other Pac-12 teams were good, but like this Michigan team has been lights out on defense.
It has. Hey, friend from the Pacific Northwest.
Who we
Can
need to know his
you
name.
elaborate
Yes, please
on that?
elaborate.
I mean, I don't.
This
I'm
is
not
the second
disagreeing with
time
you.
you said that, by the
I
way.
want to know what you're referring to specifically because you're probably ahead of me, and I probably haven't seen it yet.
He is not at the game, by the way.
Okay, but still, my.
So this is interesting now because if Dave is still here, we have a Husky fan and a Wolverine fan in our midst right now. So maybe it'll be a little face off a little bit later.
Do you think the NCAA 24 thing, they'll do that between the third and fourth quarter?
Yeah,
That'll
probably.
be like the time.
That makes sense because it's probably going to be awesome, right? Like if they have a pre-order link, I'm screwed. Like I might be like, that is a game I would so 100%. All right, so let's post this up here. He's elaborated. Pass interference, chop block, no calls.
Michigan has gotten away with a couple holds on offense too, like very obvious holds. I haven't seen the chop blocks, but I haven't been paying that much of attention. We haven't been watching as closely here in the second half.
You're welcome.
There were a couple calls in the first half that I thought were questionable as far as passing interference. The one where Rome stumbled, though, I think he just legit like lost his balance into the guy. I don't think that was passing interference. It didn't look good, like visually. It looked initially like obvious PI, but
in the moment too, like sometimes you're making those calls bang bang, and it's like you have to slow it down for it to look okay. It's like if it looks like a duck, walks like a duck, it's hard.
Yeah, that's the one thing to remember is these referees, they're not watching this crap in slow motion. They don't get to watch 4 replays of every questionable call like we do. But they do miss a lot of calls. I mean, so I feel like officiating at the college and pro level has been poor.
We talked about this last week with the Dan Campbell stuff, right? About it's like it's not just this. It's so many different things that have happened over the course of this season and the past couple of seasons. I don't feel it as much in college, but then again, like the referees that are technically reffing these games, because there's so many games, right? They need so many referees. These I would assume would be like the best of the best of the best with honors. You know what I mean? And I don't know how they determine that in the
they're
NFL.
ACC officials, which terrified me when I heard that because the ACC, I feel like the ACC officials were garbage all year because Notre Dame always gets ACC officials.
See, let me ask you a question. Now, this is a good debate. So Michigan takes over on their own 7-yard line. This is a good debate, actually, though. For games of this magnitude, I don't care about the other bowl games, right? Send ACC, Pac-12, I don't care. But for the playoff, why are we not using like NFL caliber officials for this?
Could be a rule. I mean, would you want guys that have officiated by basically a different set of rules all year and just bring them in for this one game? I mean,
you're telling me that those guys don't know the rules of both? Like they're
sure
professionals.
They do,
Come
but
on.
I don't know.
Ed Hockley could have done that.
But look at I mean, I'm just saying creatures of habit. Look at what happened in the Lions game. The guy got tricked into saying the wrong guy was eligible just because he'd said it 10 times in a row.
Well, they just showed a Washington coach on the sideline who couldn't look more Pacific Northwest. I don't know.
What does Pacific Northwest look like?
Oh, I mean, this guy.
I'll keep an eye out. I'll see.
I think you'll know. I think you'll notice. Like he did not look like a college coach. Like they showed him again. He might be the defensive coordinator for the Huskies. I think he is, but I don't know. For some reason, he looks Pacific Northwest. He also kind of looks like Ryan too, but
very pale.
Mike did live for a year in Olympia, maybe outside of I can't remember where it was, but. Mike did live in the Pacific Northwest for a while, so he does have a little bit. I mean, I went there for a couple of days. I did not live there, so he has a little bit more personal, experience with that. Oh my goodness.
Okay, I see him now.
You see him now? Yeah.
Yeah.
So, but my point of asking you is like, should we like? I feel like this is a game of high magnitude. Like there should be a better, a more stable way to make sure that these referees aren't just like any Joe Blow from the ACC. Because like, how do we know that these ACC guys were better than others? Like, are they keeping track of that?
Yeah,
stuff?
it should be like. I mean, really, it should be the top-rated crew, regardless of what conference they're from. But I can understand how Michigan wouldn't want a Pac-12 crew, and
Sure.
Washington probably wouldn't want a Big Ten crew. Like, I
Get an
get that, but you
SEC
can't
crew in
tell
there,
me there
piss
isn't an
everybody off.
SEC crew that's
Piss everybody
probably
off.
really damn good. But
Yeah, but they're biased. They're paid off.
yeah, but there's no dog in the fight here.
Yeah, I
You
know.
could have gotten away with Big Ten officials. I mean, these teams are both going to be in the Big Ten
I'm
next year.
telling
So
you, the storyline of Washington potentially winning a national title and then having to play Michigan again next year, but as a conference opponent, undersold. Completely undersold. Like, it's just that this playoff is so funny because you had two SEC next year. It would be two SEC teams and two Big Ten teams, and that's where we're headed in college football. Is less. I don't know. It's going to be interesting next year.
I hate to say this because
Ooh.
it goes against my betting
Uh-oh.
interest,
Uh-oh.
but I have a feeling, based off what I've seen here, is that Michigan's just going to put the ball in JJ McCarthy's hand and say, "Go win this football game."
I mean, right now, Michigan can do what they've done to every team this season and just suffocate them in the second half. They don't need to do a whole lot, right? Like, if they get a field goal here at the end of as we're heading into the fourth quarter, a 10-point lead for Michigan right now, like, Washington has not been able to overcome that yet. So do what got you here. Although big defensive play by Washington on second down there. A guy tackled him so hard his helmet flew off. Do they still have to go on the sideline for a play?
I think so. Yeah, if you lose your helmet, you're down for one.
That's kind
One
of big
thing
in a
though,
game
it
like this.
appears that Michigan's trying to do is, Washington's really started to stop the run between the tackles, and it looks like Michigan's trying to go east and west a little bit more, trying to
Yep,
get that
they are.
defense to play
Mhm.
sideline to sideline and soften it up a little bit, which
Yep.
is a good idea.
It is, for
So
sure. That's why I think, like, Michigan they don't need to do anything crazy. I think, like, as you said, like, the personnel wise, I think Michigan, again, like, I think that their offensive line is better. And I think that they have the ability to get Washington where they were at the beginning of this game defensively. And you're right. Like, they are 100% going sideline to sideline right now. Like, I think the last three plays have been that way. And if Washington is not careful, Michigan killed them up the middle and I mean, I think they showed the stat early in the third quarter, or early in the first quarter. Washington averaged giving up 137 yards rushing, and Michigan had 115 already. And like this,
yeah, they're just trying to get some of these guys out of the box a little bit, try to soften
they
the
are,
box
for
up so
sure.
they can get back to doing what they really want to do, which is run
Absolutely.
between the tackles.
And that's what makes Jim Harbaugh so smart. Like, Jim Harbaugh is a smart head coach, and who is our offense coordinator is
Sharon Moore.
Sharon Moore. Yeah, I mean, obviously, guy coached Michigan the last 3 games of the season, did just fine. So I think that their game plan is a solid one, and it's a matter of are Washington's athletes on the defensive side of the ball going to be able to stay in the game from a
Physical standpoint. I mean,
Yeah.
physically, right?
I mean, yeah, that's
Will
what
they
I
hold
mean.
up?
Well, yes, from an endurance standpoint, because you and I both can spot a tired defense from a mile away, which was basically Florida State from the first play of the game on.
Well, I don't think it's even going to be so much from the cardio side of it, but
Yeah.
just like the physicality of getting hammered by these big physical
Yep.
Michigan offensive linemen over and over again. That takes a toll. It's like a boxer, man. Like, it's body shots is what it is.
Yep.
And Michigan just delivers body blow after body blow after body blow.
They do now. I completely missed it bantering with you, but Washington has the football back on the 10-yard line.
I see that. Yeah, I just see they just had the punt.
Yeah, they
and
did.
it's on Herbie and Fowler.
Yep. So Washington has a tall task ahead of them if they want to tie this football game. Michael Penix, 18 of 32, 170, 1 touchdown and interception. Obviously, that is not what they were hoping for. But also, again, this is a defense that is not Texas's defense. I'll tell you that right now. And there you go. Our friend is back.
Yeah, I think they'll figure some things out as long as this thing stays within reach. Isn't it crazy how once the game really is like down to the wire, that offenses like come to life all of a sudden? But I think it's because they're not as conservative anymore.
Yep.
And they're just going for it. And
you have to. Yeah,
you're right. I mean, by the nature of it, but it's like, man, if you had that confidence earlier in the ball game, you probably wouldn't be in this situation. Okay, I'm looking for the helmet to helmet.
I don't know when that is. I don't even
It's
think I've
definitely
seen
not
that
on
yet.
this incomplete pass, no, on first down.
I'm not even sure I've seen it yet. But then again, it's hard because like we're trying to talk to each other, and although with the sunglasses, you don't know where the hell I'm
You
looking,
know,
which I kind of like. Honestly, it looks like I'm looking at the camera all the time, and sometimes I'm not. I don't know. If you see the helmet to helmet, let me know. I'm in a commercial break right now.
yeah, I see. So it's on second down, to
All
the
right, I
tight
missed
end.
it
I mean,
then.
literally, his helmet's, like, knocked halfway up his head, like, I'm
Cool.
gonna watch the replay here. I mean, it looked live like there was definitely helmet to helmet.
And there, see, the thing about that is
Yeah.
in like this season. So one of the things that college does well, in my opinion, is with targeting. They call it targeting on the field and do a review. And
Can
I'm
they
surprised.
review it if there's no flag? They probably can't,
That's what I
can they?
mean. Is normally they are overcautious in throwing the flag because they know that there's a review upcoming, and most of the time the guy is absolved of targeting. So I was like, ooh, and this is, but this gets down to when it comes to targeting, when it comes to unnecessary roughness and so forth, is the nature of football. And you've talked about it too. I think one of our first episodes, like October of 2022, you talked about how was after Tua got his concussion, and you talked about how um, the way that tackling was. Like they were being taught to tackle differently because of the safety rules that were in place. And so as a result, you're seeing a lot of those whip tackles that were not
Yeah,
something that you would necessarily have talked about.
right.
So like that's where it gets down to really, really tough. And guess who's back?
And
Dave.
that's interesting. I mean, and of course, we've had the opportunity to watch it 4 or 5 times. And that's I don't know what the letter of the law is in terms of, like, I don't know if the burden of avoiding helmet to helmet is solely on the defensive player, like, because
Yeah,
Mike
I
mentioned
agree.
that it looked like the tight end initiated the contact. Um, Maybe so. I mean, you could if you just took a snapshot of it without seeing the lead up to it, I could see an argument to be made for forcible contact to the head or neck area.
Yep.
Like, but there's definitely a debate to be had of who initiated it. Um, isn't it weird that we're programmed to look for this stuff now? Because like 5 years ago, you're like, that's just a football play. You know what I mean? It's not
Yeah, I
even a
know.
conversation.
Well, and
And
that's what I mean is like we have gotten to a place where, as you said, like, and I think we talked about it about the burden being on the defensive player. Something happened earlier this season, and I cannot remember what it was, but like guys were getting hurt, and there was a lot of these hits that like people were like, oh, and it's like, well, wait a minute, why is it always on the defender? Oh, um, who was the defender that talked about it? And it's like, it's not always on the defender to have to like be the person to hold up every time
it shouldn't
something
be.
happens. You know what I mean? It's tough. And the Michael Penix is rallying the team. Everybody's doing the cliched
It's kind of I get
awkward.
it, but
I get it. I hate it though.
yeah.
I hate it. See, but this is why I like Dave being at the game here. No UW fans reacted as if there should have been a penalty. I mean, sometimes, but then again, who knows, right? Like if you can't see it
They
from
might be a
where
bunch
you're
of
at.
idiots, we don't know.
Ooh,
But no, I'm kidding.
maybe.
I don't mean that as like but sometimes people don't know what they're looking at either.
Well, it's like in baseball. Every time there's a ball, they're like, "Ooh," and it's like, dude, you have no idea where that is. You're sitting like so far away, off to an angle. You have no idea where that ball is. Come on.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, it is tough because especially running backs and tight ends, those guys that play like in the more physical area of the field, they are programmed to lower their pad level at the point of contact, and you
Yes.
can't lower your pad level without your head coming down with it, because that's also how you protect your legs and everything else, which is one of the primary things that the defender is going to attack to tackle you. I know this is all common sense, but uh,
Maybe.
I don't know what the. I'd be very. I mean, has anyone seen targeting called on an offensive player? I don't know that I ever have.
I don't think so. I mean, I at least not that I can recall. I feel like it's that, and that's what I'm saying is like sometimes like the ball carrier lowers his head. You see this a lot in the NFL too, like running backs lower their head to try to get an advantage. And like, isn't that the same amount of danger as when a defensive player does
Well,
it?
like, can you
Now,
tell me there's no helmet to helmet contact on the tush push?
oh, almost
You know
every
what I
play,
mean?
I'm
Like,
sure. Yeah,
now obviously it's not at the same velocity that you get in the open field, which is maybe the argument there. Yeah,
telling
so
you,
something must have happened. Let's see.
drops are killing the Huskies right now. They're about ready to punt the ball back to Michigan, with 13:38 left to go in the game. Michigan still is up 20-13. This is I feel like this is where Michigan wants this game, right?
I mean, I guess so. It sucks though, because like P&W said, I mean, last week Penix was on fire, and I really thought that I thought that this is where this game was going to be decided, is the Washington offense against the Michigan defense, because we knew Michigan, or at least I came into this game. I wasn't
Great
surprised to
kick.
see, I wasn't
Holy
surprised to see
shit.
how it started. I came into this game believing that Michigan was going to be able to move the football. Now Washington has done a great job of making adjustments and shoring up things on the defensive side to give their offense a chance, but they've got to take advantage of it. And I just saw the drop, so that's how far behind I am. But goodness, man, that dude probably could have ran for a while if he would have held on to it.
Well, if you look at the replay, turned his head, turned his head before he actually went upfield. And man, that sucks, but a killer kick by the punter. I think punted all the way back almost to like the 20-yard line or some shit like that.
And he probably heard footsteps too.
Maybe. Yeah, he could have. I mean, he was going to get the first down. Wow, we went from 11 to 1. I don't know who that one is, but thank you for sticking around.
Right.
As we sit here with like,
maybe it's probably maybe commercial for a lot of people. Is there a commercial after the punt?
Yes, there is a commercial after the punt. I just don't know. Maybe people like, or is a piss break?
Piss break.
We don't get them.
You gotta go.
How do you think Scott Hansen does it? 7 hours.
Well, there's a lot of times where there's just games playing. You know what I mean? I bet
how many times do you think
he's
he takes
probably
the
just
lavalier
mic'd up?
mic? I was gonna say, do you think he takes the lab? He's got like the laptop while he's taking a shit, and he's just got a lab mic. He's just got to make sure that he's not, making sounds, and he's like, "Ooh, big man." Let's see, go man, just go. Yep. So let's see. Too many men on. Oh, wow, Dave is. I mean, we're getting objective feedback. Isn't that amazing? I did not see that.
No.
So that
we'll see if when they come back from the
Michigan,
the commercial, if they talk about it on the broadcast.
I don't know.
They'll probably bring up the graphic and start counting guys or something.
I should have close. Yeah, that's true. But isn't that the punt returner's job to count everybody?
Typically, yeah.
Typically,
but
that's
man,
why
at the end of the day, man, that falls on coaching. It's like the Notre Dame thing. At the end of the day, that falls on coaching.
Do you think Arthur Smith knows how many people they need out there?
Guys. No idea.
Most earned. I can't recall. I mean, I can. I'm sure if we debate it. I don't know who else is out there still, but let us know. But Arthur Smith got fired this morning, and too late, right?
Probably fired last night. How do you think they waited?
They did not wait. Arthur Blank knew. Arthur Blank knew he was going to fire him well before. And the best part was, and now you asked me about the Jameis Winston thing, and I told you. You asked me about the Arthur Smith thing. You didn't specifically ask me about the Jameis Winston thing. Now, I get what you're saying, like it's Bush League or whatever, but I think it's actually more indicative of the Saints head coach that your guys went rogue and didn't care about it. But also Arthur Smith's reaction, like as if that touchdown was the difference between him getting fired and keeping his job, was hilarious. Because, dude, you were fired before that game kicked off. Arthur Blank knew he was getting rid of him. Just knew.
Yeah,
that was the nail in the
just
coffin.
An out of frustration thing, My dad argued the same thing. I think he said he heard like Shannon Sharp talking, and he was saying that he thinks that if you were the GM or whoever, that you release Jameis Winston immediately and fire the coach. One for Winston going rogue, and two for the coach for having no control over the team whatsoever.
I mean, I can understand. See, the thing is, though, right? Like, it's inconsequential. Jameis Winston is easy to get rid of because, he's a backup. I mean, he knows what he is. But by the way, this is PNW, just so you know, he is Dave, or PSX is actually at the game, and so he is providing commentary on the UW fans that are, I think, around him when that call was missed. So I don't think it's a matter of what's being seen on the broadcast. I'm not sure if you were here when we mentioned that. So I think that's what he's trying to say. But
yes, he's on board with there were too many men on the field. Like he says, I think he believes that.
Gotcha.
Washington fans are definitely justified in feeling.
Yeah, because
feeling pissed about it.
Yeah, because I wanted to make sure he understood that, like, he's actually at the game, sitting at NRG Stadium. So I think it's like it's actually kind of a cool thing where it's like, wow, they really missed that, and these fans are losing it over here. And I kind of love that. Like, I really wish we had mic'd up Dave now. Like if I knew this was a possibility, it would have been amazing.
Right?
We would have
Okay.
had a mole. So Michigan now has it third down and
They're
6.
really struggling to find anything on offense. Like, if Washington could just put one freaking drive together, I mean, obviously they're gonna have to score again after that, but if they could just put one drive together, man, uh,
But
they
that's what's so
they
hard.
with the way that they're playing and with the way Penix is playing, they need a break. They need one of these penalties to be called. They need something to go their way,
And
and
JJ
that
McCarthy. Oh,
hasn't.
man. Ooh. So McCarthy's stats not been like, they're not eye popping during this game. I think he's got a 50% completion percentage, and I think he's got like 30 something yards rushing. So Michigan has had outside of early, their offense has really stagnated. And you know what it looks like right now? It looks like they went through this period um in the Alabama game, remember? Where it was like they just could not do anything, and then something happened and they opened it up. But they're allowing Washington to stay here. But their defense is just Penix kind of, I mean, Penix is better than Jalen Milroe, obviously, but they're making him kind of look the same way that they made Jalen Milroe look, right? Like Penix has made it look easy all season long, and I don't know.
Yeah, this Michigan defense is really good, and I'm
Yes.
sure that someone way more plugged in than me, Dave probably knows as a Michigan fan and a avid follower of the NFL, but I imagine there's a lot of NFL guys on that Michigan defense, um, for sure. And I'm not saying that Washington isn't playing poorly and Penix isn't playing poorly, but I do think that you've got to give some credit to Michigan's defense at the same time.
Oh, I 100% agree. And actually, PNW said that earlier about how great Michigan's defense is. And that's the thing, though, right? Is it's like Michigan probably so far feels confident. I think, like I said, like if they got a field goal, a 10-point lead feels massive, especially now with as much time as there isn't remaining in this game. But the Michigan defense just, they've not been giving up chunk plays. The biggest drive that they gave up was right after the fourth down. And right now, I mean, that's all that Washington has really done. I don't know. You want to speak to the clock running all the time
I
thing?
do, I see that, and
Yeah,
because so that's new this year, and I'm sure you know that. What's interesting about it is that the argument was, well, they want to shorten games. Well, these games in their entirety, you're
so
still
long.
taking the same amount of time. It's just less action and more commercials is what it is. So,
Yeah,
um, why they sold you on trying to make the game shorter because they think that I guess they think that we want less football, which means they don't know their audience. It's all about money and revenue and selling more ads,
yeah.
unfortunately.
And didn't Chip Kelly say that? Like, wasn't Chip Kelly really pissed about the rule because they run on how many possessions they can have, and
Oh,
by
I'm sure he
shortening
was.
the game, he also wants there to be a pro level commissioner. Is he still the coach of UCLA? I thought they were going to fire him.
I don't think they fired him.
They did not, because they seemed like they were going to, and Budge
I
was really
think that'd be
pissed
a
about that.
dumb move. Yeah, I don't think they should fire him.
Hey, question: how do you think Tyler Budge, our friend, watches the Natty?
Um, very. I don't think he's the type of guy that gets with a group of people.
You
I
don't think
think
so?
he maybe his dad, um, and I don't know if they live in proximity or whatever, but
Should I text them?
I think that he likes to watch it quietly, and take it all in because of what he does and how analytical he is. I think he likes to just take every bit of it in.
Yeah, you know what? I can see that. If you're new to this and you've never checked out CF Budge on TikTok and on YouTube now, I would consider him a friend of the show. Wouldn't you say?
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah. He's been on the show twice. Now, he came on in the summertime. We kind of previewed college football. That was the first time we had ever done any content with him. And the second time was week 3, I think, of college football, and much different experience. He was a lot looser, a lot more himself, probably. But we're hoping to have him on after this game. But I agree with you. He is such a big college football fan that I can see him kind of like how you are, or you said, I think even Mike has said it too, where it's like, if my team is in the Super Bowl, I don't want to be at some Super Bowl party where everybody's asking, I hate to say it, dumb questions and is like not paying attention. I need to be locked in, laser focused.
Yeah, especially if I'm interested in
Yes,
the outcome of the game.
that's what I mean. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, there's been plenty of times where I didn't give a crap who won the Super Bowl at all. Um, and where, yeah, it's just about
Yeah.
the experience of being around other people and whatnot. But yeah, if there's a game that I'm invested in some way, I definitely don't really want to be bothered a whole bunch, which I text you about my experience during the first half of this game is my 7-year-old daughter and 3-year-old son were deciding to, I don't know, some imaginary game where all these stuffed animal it was chaos. Like I tried to
So,
negotiate. I said, you can either, if you're gonna stand in front of me, be quiet, or you can keep being loud but move to the side. Like one or the other. Like pick one, please.
which is interesting because like James does like to do this. By the way, a big completion from Washington was negated by a holding penalty. So Washington is killing themselves. They had another, I don't want to call it a drop. It was really more of a defensive play there, but
It
another,
pisses me off though with all the missed calls the other way.
I
That's
know.
what's frustrating.
Yeah, I totally agree. And I don't think it's like, it's not a conspiracy. It's just inconsistent refereeing. And this is a theme that we see in the pros and we see it in college now too. But looks like Washington is facing a 3rd and 18 to get back to that. Looks like they are on their like 20-yard line or something like that. So they're running out of time. I would say I don't know. I mean, they're going to get the ball back, obviously, but the clock is starting to tick. We're getting up to 10 minutes, single digits here in the fourth quarter. It's only one touchdown, but still, they have not been able to really move the ball consistently, and they're beating themselves up now. They're hurting themselves.
I'm really torn because like I think Washington's the underdog and I'm an underdog guy.
Of course.
But at the same time, like I don't dislike Michigan at all. And obviously Dave being a friend, friend of the show and everything, and on the network, like
Yes.
I'd love to see him be able to have this. Um,
That's what I want now,
you know,
especially since he's able to go to the game. Like, I don't want him to have that experience. I mean, I'm not saying he'd regret going, but wouldn't it be icing on the cake to get this chance to go to a game like this and then see your team win it for the first time in a
yeah.
long time, you know?
What if Dave gets a Michigan national championship and a Detroit Lions Super Bowl all
Uh,
within a matter of like 2 months?
Many times when something good happens for him, he threatens to do the podcast with no pants on. So that could be a
And
reality
go
at
dogs
some
in that
point. So
case.
that could be a reality. I'm not sure if he's still up for that or not, but that has been a veiled threat that he has given to the listener base at some point in time. But I don't know, man. We're getting to the point in this game where I feel like something's got to give for Washington. They're killing themselves, whether it's drops, missed penalties by the referees, or just penalties on their own end. Because like the holding penalty was kind of obvious, but it feels like a game that Michigan just they have, and it's like a weird game because it's 7 points, but it doesn't feel like 7 points.
Yeah, and we've said that about them all year. There's plenty of times you turn on a Michigan game and the score is not really like the Ohio State game. That there was a
Most of the
touchdown
game
or
they
less.
blew people
Never,
out though,
never felt the Ohio State game never felt like it was in doubt
which was great
at
too.
any
Because like,
point in time.
I love watching Ohio State this year look so hapless against Michigan. Even though it was a 6 point game, it was like it's like when an older sibling is holding the head of the younger sibling and they're trying to punch them, but they can't reach. Like that's kind of what that game felt like. And Michigan let them get close enough, but it's like, yeah, you're not that good. Or I still love that they did not throw a pass in the second half of the Penn State game. That's how much better they knew that they were than Penn
Yeah,
State.
no,
Unbelievable.
absolutely.
I love that.
Yeah, so we need, Washington needs a big special teams play, a turnover to give them a short field. Something's got to go their way.
What does
Um,
coach need right now? That's what I want to know. What does coach need?
what do I need? I mean,
Your parlay is up here. I need
oh,
to know.
honest, dude, that's so on the periphery of like my interest in this game. It's just a little like sweetener on the side. I'm not. I mean, obviously, like for the parlay, I need them to. I mean, like a touchdown in Michigan winning by a field goal that would easily, 20-17 would do the trick.
Yeah, because I don't
Um,
think you're going to get a field goal from Washington at this point in the game. Like if they get down there, I don't think they're going to kick a field goal to make it 4 points because I don't know.
I don't think
Depends
so
on
either, unless they try to go like the Texas route where they
they could. Yeah.
get a field goal and try to save some time to come back and get a touchdown. But that
I just
didn't
think
work
it's
for
going to be hard
Texas.
enough to get down there.
Right. Right. I
This
think
is the
so
part.
too.
So we'll see.
Um yeah, I want this to be
Excuse me.
okay, so obviously this hasn't lived up to my projected billing of an all-timer. Now we're yet
So
I think
far,
the finish kind of dictates that, I think a lot of times. It can cover up a lot of ugly if this thing
that's true.
finishes in epic fashion.
Let's
But
see. Well, Michigan starts off on their own 25, and oh boy. All right, big chunk play down to the 28-yard line for J.J. McCarthy and the boys. So,
yikes.
yes, this
A
could
touchdown here is the
the
nail in the
death knell.
coffin,
It
in my
definitely
opinion.
is. It is. Dave will start taking his pants. Oh, he might actually wait till after the game, but maybe he shouldn't do that at the stadium. He might not make it out alive.
And we might see him on the news.
We might, yes. Local, well, he won't be local, but DC man goes to national championship and makes the news. I don't know. Touchdown here, it's pretty much done. I can't see. We may lose PNW if that's the case. I just don't see Washington being able to get 2 scores here. There's no way. There's just no way. And this is wow, what a throw and catch right there. Woo. That was a laser by JJ McCarthy, and boy, what a catch by I think is that the tight end, number 18. Have you seen the play yet?
I just seen it right now.
It's a killer. See, Washington killed themselves in that last drive. That holding negated like a 30-something yard pass from Penix, and you could tell he was standing there with his hands on his hips, just frustrated. Like they've got to be frustrated right now because they're getting bullied. Michigan, this again feels like that point in the Alabama game where Michigan was like, "All right, enough. We're gonna score."
Gosh, like, quit throwing the ball or quit running the ball if you're Michigan. I mean, you're having more success, I think, throwing the ball.
They are. I know they
putting
are
it
right
in
now. Yeah, and it's kind of
J.J.
like what you
McCarthy's
said.
hands.
They opened up the field a little bit, and I'm not saying Washington doesn't look tired or anything, but I think they're getting out play called right now. Tommy Reese is not calling this game for Michigan.
Yeah, they're getting out schemed a little bit.
Yeah, that's the word I was looking for. Thank you for that. I needed
Right.
that help.
I got
yes, I know.
one of those. I'm good for one of those a show. One of those a month.
What are you talking about? I was going back in the archive and I realized you have not made a pick of the week in like 3 months.
It's probably better that way.
And it was a Big Ten game, I think. I think you ended 9-12.
What are we gonna get? 1st and 10 from what was it, like a 15?
Yes, something like that. Let's see. Michigan fans doing the praying thing. Michael Penix just looks gassed on the sideline, and I can understand why.
It's completely on his shoulders. I mean, in terms of like he's got like if they go as he goes, and their running back's banged up, which is obviously hurt.
Touchdown, Michigan.
Ugh.
Yep. Is it Corum, I think? Oh, man, the fans are going nuts. Yep, Blake Corum. Sorry, Rick. 12-yard touchdown. What he should really be doing is muting this and watching the game is what he should be doing. But touchdown, Michigan. Pending the extra point, it is 26-13. That was rough. 5 plays, 70 yards, 2 minutes and 30 seconds. That is just a killer. But think about it this way, man. They could have been a lot worse because remember, this half started off with an interception from Penix, and that only led to a field goal. That's all Washington's defense has given up. But their offense has not been able to do anything. Oh, doink. Okay. Oh, it went through. It doinked and went through. So Michigan gets lucky once again, 27-13. Let's see. So, not looking good. 7 minutes to go, my man.
Goodness. I'm waiting for like a celebratory message from Dave, but maybe. I don't know how superstitious he is, though. Maybe he's just like, you know what? It ain't over till it's over.
I mean, I would assume as a Lions fan, and I mean no shade by that, but when you've seen losing, you probably don't feel super confident, although he has felt really good about Michigan all year long. So he could feel really confident about it in that way, but 7 minutes is all they got to get through and keep a 14-point lead. The way that Washington has been playing their defense, I feel bad for them because like You said it. Their defense was kind of a liability this year, or at least was questionable. And they looked questionable in the first quarter. And they put it together for basically 2.5 quarters after that. And the offense just could not get it done to reward them for playing so well. Really, that's what it comes down to.
No, you're not wrong. And so what's interesting here is,
Your parlay's done.
well, probably not completely. So
We got a path.
they're at 40 points. All right, 55 and a half.
Yes.
And it seems like
No
Vegas is
way.
always close. So it's like which I need under anyways, but I'm saying that
That's true.
I feel like they always get close to the number somehow. And so two scores by, because that's 15 and a half points away. So two scores by Washington to tie it, and then a field goal. We're right there, man.
We're
Like,
right there.
that's crazy. I mean,
So are we
I
shifting
doubt that
now?
happens, but
Are we shifting for the parlay?
no,
Should we
I'm
pivot?
just rooting for a competitive finish, truthfully, just for the pure entertainment value of it.
It would be really nice if Washington had one of those 2-minute drives and came right down and scored, but
They're going to
I don't
have to if they want to stand any chance, because Michigan's going to be able to eat some clock if they get the ball back.
I hate to be so negative, but like I've watched football long enough to know that like the game's not over because turnovers obviously can happen, but Washington needs how you talked about at the end of the game, offenses, they need to open up. And I'm not saying that they're not trying to. I think it's just Michigan's all over Michael Penix. They're obviously being aided somewhat by some missed calls. That's not why Washington is losing this football game, though.
No, it's not, but those certainly would have helped things
They
along the
sting
way.
more when you lose. But
Oh, for sure.
I mean, let me ask you though, do you think that, and I don't know if PNW is still here, but when this season started, do you think that the Husky fans thought that the national championship was a legitimate reality? Does every fan base think that?
I think that there are a good 10 to 15 fan bases that believe that's a possibility when the season starts.
Okay.
I think that to the most of the country, Washington probably wasn't on a lot of people's radar. I mean, shoot, we had a conversation with Budge the first time that we had him on
Yep.
about like kind of the Pac-12. Are people sleeping on the Pac-12, literally and figuratively?
Yes.
You know what I mean? And the Pac-12 was really good this year, and not the teams that rose to the top were not necessarily. I mean, I think everybody kind of expected Oregon. There was still a lot of faith in USC at that point and Utah, but for it to be, come down to Oregon and Washington was a little surprising. I mean, just it wasn't. I don't think by people that aren't really plugged into the Pac-12 or the Washington program. I don't know that a lot of pundits saw this coming.
Yeah.
But
I'd
just
agree with
like Dave's not just happy for the experience, Washington's not going to walk out of there tonight if they lose and say, "Well, hey, at least we got to play in this game."
Oh, of course not. But I'm saying like, because I always thought like from a fan perspective, like it's so hard to get to a game like this because the national championship, like it's just so hard to go. I mean, Washington being undefeated at this point in the season is remarkable. There's only what 2 teams that made it this far undefeated in this game, and it's never a guarantee. Like in the NFL, you kind of know who the good teams are. And like the Patriots were good for so long, it became like you knew that they should have a chance to get there. Not that they would get there, but like, hey, they're going to be a playoff team this year, probably barring injury. So they should be able to get there. But like every time they made a Super Bowl, even when they lost, it was like, oh, I'd rather have this than anything else. But like, this may be the only time that they get there. So like, I guess if, Washington, big chunk play down inside the 30.
Nice. Nice.
Looks
I'm
like
guessing it was probably on second down because I'm watching first down right now.
It was a defensive. Was it a defensive? Yep, defensive lapse by Michigan. Did not cover number 1. I can't think of it. Is that that's not
Rome?
Yeah.
I can't think of his last name.
Adinze?
Something like that. Yeah.
Something like that. Yep. So it is now first down again. I think it's Adinze. He has 5 catches, 87 yards. So that most of those came on that play right there. But we got a penalty on who? Man, see, this is what I'm talking about. If this is on Washington, it's like, come on, man.
It's
You just
deflating.
got that. False start.
Oh, is it really?
Yep.
Gosh. At least it's only a $5. That doesn't really kill you.
What hurts
I mean,
more,
not
false start or
ideal,
holding?
but
Holding sucks, right?
a
Because it's
10-yard penalty, yeah.
in spot of the foul too.
Yes.
Most of the time, it's at the line of scrimmage, so it's like basically the line of scrimmage.
Or
Yeah,
like,
that play. Oh man, that was lucky, I think, for Washington there. But then, of course, they're like, "Hey, we can't have two good things happen in a row." False start. It's kind of the way this game has been going. Penix is going to have to literally lift this team. Oh my!
One step forward, two steps back, kind of deal.
Yeah, man, he is getting pummeled back there. He's like, man, I can't wait to go to the NFL.
They know he's throwing. I mean, they have to. So there's teeing off. Like,
oh man, yeah, but like, I mean, he is. Wow. I mean, he had a pocket. Oh, I see what happened there. He had a pocket. And you'll see this play. He steps up in the pocket as you're supposed to do, and as soon as he stepped up in the pocket, big old Michigan defensive lineman was right there, and he had to throw it probably like a half a second early. He had a guy open who probably would have gone for a few yards after that, but second and 15 for Washington right now on the 33, something like that.
Oh, yeah, I mean, this is obviously 4-down territory.
100%.
For sure.
100%. Down by 2 scores? Absolutely. Like, the thing is, though, is like even on this drive, so they get down there, and those 3 plays, he is under such duress that he doesn't even have enough time to go. Like, they should be going down toward the end zone. He doesn't even have enough time for that. I mean, there's 5 minutes left in this game. So, like, just getting this first down, the clock continues to run. They're 2-11 on 3rd down. That's an indicator of how good on defense Michigan has been.
That is not good.
Average to go 10 yards. Oof. And nope. 4th down.
Gosh.
4th and 13.
I'm sitting here thinking to myself, I'm like, man, like, I mean, a 1-score game with, 3 or 4 minutes to go is not crazy, but
no, this is looking worse and worse. Although the pass was kind of on the money, but just great defensive effort from Michigan this game. You got to give them their flowers. Dave is going to be super happy. This is McCarthy's last year, right?
Yeah, pretty sure.
Sorry, I'm yawning. It's nearing 11 o'clock here on the East Coast, and the Iceman gets up at 6 a.m. for work, so it's gonna be a short night. And of course, there's a timeout. Cool. Can't make this go faster.
Right.
4:52 is going to take like another 40 minutes. By the way, I did text. This is funny. I don't know who else will find this funny, but I thought it was funny. I did text the group that Dave was giving us intel while at the national championship game, for the wrong show. And I said, they wish Cleve a happy birthday. And I said, Dave said you have to pick a new birthday if Michigan loses, by the way. And Dave said, I'm not celebrating shit on this day. If Michigan loses, would be better if your birthday was on January 6th instead.
Oh my goodness.
And
wow.
Like, yeah. So I thought that was funny. But yeah, I don't know what Cleve's doing tonight. 50 years old. I think he's feeling that, but I don't think in like a negative way, but it's like, it's significant.
I didn't feel that way when I turned 40. I told him that when I said it's a milestone, man. Like,
I didn't feel that way when I turned 40. Maybe 50. I don't know. Shit, I hope we're still doing this show at 50. Oh my goodness.
I feel like 40 might be painful.
What
happened?
Big penalty. Bland. Penix, of course, under duress, throws the ball up for what's the word I'm looking for?
Up for grabs.
Up for grabs. So I don't know what the hell's going on. And Michigan guy, it's underthrown, and Michigan guy just pulls the guy down before the ball even gets there. Completely unnecessary, but it's not as big of a deal in college because it's only 15 yards.
Will that get him the first down?
Never mind. Holding on Washington.
Are you serious?
Yep. So it's 4th down again.
I haven't even seen the play yet. So
just kidding. Yes. Let's see. Oh, wow. The reason why there was holding is because the number 73 in Washington got off the line late. The ball was snapped, and he moved a good second after everybody else. So the Michigan guy was pretty much behind him. He had he had to hold him, basically, because Penix would have gotten absolutely murdered if he hadn't held him. Wow. Thankfully, there was a penalty on Michigan, too.
So did it offset?
It did offset. So it's 4th and 13 again as we're going here. The ball has been snapped and interception. That is pretty much the end of
That's the
that.
ball game.
Uh-oh. 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 I think
Take
they
it to
might
the
hit.
house.
Uh-oh. Oh, no. Is this going to hit the over? Oh, no. Oh, no. Tackle them on the 7-yard line.
Oh, even if they score, I think we're okay.
You're okay?
I can't have 2 touchdowns and a field goal, I think.
Well, that pretty much wraps this game up as Michigan is now going to run the ball and probably score another touchdown to make it 33 to
But my parlay's
10.
shot because Washington's not
Yes.
going to get within 5.5.
Definitely not at this point. Washington fans, there show Michigan fans. Their Michigan fans are hugging. No, they just showed John Harbaugh and his dad. There's tears. And the Washington fans, there are also tears, but they look just... I feel bad for Michael Penix. Like, I feel bad for him because I wanted this to be a blaze of glory game where it's like, hey, you lost 37-34. No shame in that whatsoever. This is going to take a while to get over, I feel like. He'll get over it by the draft, but
yeah, I mean, it sucks because in my opinion, Washington's very likable. They've been very likable.
Yeah, I said that.
Throughout the season, and
Touchdown, Blake Corum.
Wow, he's really good.
Sorry, on the 1-yard line. Excuse me.
No.
Looked like he got in.
He's still really good.
Yes, yeah, that doesn't change anything.
Right.
So let's see. There's 2 people left. Every single person is gone. All the Husky fans, I'm sure. Where are the Michigan fans? Should I rename this to wish Michigan wins the national championship? And maybe we can get some people in. I want to celebrate with some Michigan people right now. I want some Michigan trash talk. Where are these people?
So can we talk now about
Sure.
just briefly? We've talked about this before, but again, I saw more banter about it today on my just like Facebook feed about like questioning the legitimacy of this win if Michigan wins, and well, just how it's stupid because if it gets vacant. I'm telling you what, like, and someone like finally like someone piped up. This is the same person that's been beating the drum. This is our friend that's a Chiefs fan and a Notre Dame fan. So he is just like it tarnishes Michigan's legacy and blah 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 blah.
But, all right,
and someone's like, he's like, do you think that those kids that are on the field are going to give a crap?
No.
Like, they're going to get to celebrate that win. They're going to know they're the best team. Do you think they give 2 shits if they take that thing away in 2 months from now?
Not to mention the fact that if it were Notre Dame, this person would find some way to talk around it.
100%.
100%. And would be flouting or touting the national championship all over I don't want to hear it. Like
I'm so tired of it, dude. Like so tired of it.
Well, like at this point, it's old news. Who gives a shit? Like it's old news. And if you aren't convinced that Michigan is a good football team, then you ain't watching because like they had everything taken away from them. And this is what happens. It's like I got tired of the Patriots thing after a while because it's like, all right, fine, right? They took away, they got caught doing what they got caught doing. Totally fine. And then the next year, Tom Brady breaks all the records. Randy Moss breaks all the records, right? And then they win 3 other Super Bowls after that. So like at some point, those like the advanced scouting, the things that Michigan is being accused of doing, that they probably did to an extent, they were things that they didn't have to do because they were already a good football team. And if you think that it somehow makes them less of a football team, then you're not watching this. This Michigan team would have beat the shit out of Notre Dame this year.
Yeah. No, I agree.
It wouldn't have been because they had the signs. It would have been because top to bottom, they had
better.
a better football team.
They're better.
And people just don't want to admit that shit. And that does upset me because it's like, look, I get it. Okay, in the moment, we talked about it in the moment. I'm tired of talking about it. Like, I don't know why we're still talking about it with these people. And
it just irritates me, man. Because
it does irritate me. Because
he even took on the angle of like, this is by them doing whatever they're being accused of doing, that it has, I feel sorry for the Michigan players because
stop it.
Yeah, that's just like, dude, like
I would love to get people like that in front of the players. Like he should go. Yes, he should go to the locker room after this game is over and ask them if they feel. Do you feel like this feels less to you? And they'll be like, "Get the fuck out of here!"
Right?
Like, this feels awesome, because signs or no signs, right? Advanced scouting or no advanced scouting, you still have to execute the game plan. You still have to do what you got to do.
Yes.
And these players on Michigan, game in and game out, you and I were ardent defenders when your dad said that Michigan hadn't played anybody. And we argued with them. Doesn't matter. They're a great football team. And now they're going to be the national champions in 3 minutes and 31 seconds game time.
No, I agree, and it's just like I get like you can schedule whoever you want in the non-conference or whatnot, but it there with the way the system is set up now, there really isn't any benefit, especially if you're in a conference where you're already going to have a couple of difficult games. Like these teams in the SEC, like you're almost stupid if you would have scheduled tough non-conference games. Like, why put yourself in a position to potentially lose a game? Like, if you run the table when your conference, you're going to be in. It doesn't matter who you play in your non-conference games. Like, I hate to tell you, but like Notre Dame, if Notre Dame in any given year goes undefeated, they're going to be in the playoff no matter who's on their schedule. Like, it doesn't matter. I mean, and I'm not saying that's how it should be, but that's the way it is.
Ooh, targeting call on Michael Penix
It's
Jr.
over.
Yeah, targeting call on Michael Penix Jr. He took a going down, or not on Michael Penix, I'm sorry, but
On Michigan against him.
Michigan, yeah. And it didn't look very good. Like, this would be a shitty way to get thrown out of the national championship game with 3 minutes to go with up 3 touchdowns. Ooh. By the way, when Michigan scored their first touchdown, what did I text you?
Michigan by 20, right?
Feeling pretty good. Feeling
Yeah.
pretty good. I didn't realize it was going to take all the way until the fourth quarter to get up to there. By the way, we're just talking to ourselves now. This is where
That's
we're
fine,
at.
yeah.
It is funny, isn't it? Oh, we got one more person. It's probably your dad when he
Probably, yeah. People hopping in and out.
Yeah, I think we lost J-Dog a while back, but
Yeah.
we had a good audience
Yeah.
tonight. I will say that. We had at one point 12 people all at the same time. I just wish
for
people,
a little bit.
Yeah, I just wish we started talking about your TV and it went downhill from there.
Right, it did.
But I just wish these people would comment. Like, if they're coming in here, like, that's the weird thing, right? Is if I see a live stream that has like an interesting title, I usually give it a few minutes before I decide what to do. I mean, unless nothing happens. Maybe that's an indictment on us. Maybe nothing happened in the time that all those people were here. But like, we had 12 people at one point. It's like nobody was commenting on this stuff. Like, I'm surprised that people weren't being more engaging.
Yeah, even if they just want to be like, you guys suck. Like,
Yeah.
whatever, do it. I don't care.
I'd rather have that you guys suck. And like, I was very happy because we have traditionally streamed on multiple platforms and, had ebb and flow, but we've never done one solely on YouTube. And I think it's because it's a watch party for a big game that people are watching and people are going on and looking for that kind of content. And to me, I think it's a good sign of things to do. Like, if any big game, like, I'd be curious to try it for a college basketball game, like one of those Saturday games, or like during the conference championship or something like that, because like you get those diehard fans of these schools, they probably care about it. Maybe like AFC championship game, NFC championship game, something like that.
Right. No, I think so too.
It works.
It does work.
The show inside the show right now.
That's
what
right.
You're getting. If anybody was watching this right now, they would be getting insider info as to how we come up with our shitty ideas. But instead, nobody's here.
What do you think? I mean, do you want to stick around for the end of it, or at this point are we?
Yeah, there's only 2 minutes to go. So I guess we can wrap that up here. It has been a good time. We came in, another drop pass. We came in I came in a little bit before the start of the second half. Coach came in at the start of the second half. There's nobody here, but for those of you who find this video afterward, if you want to find us, I don't have the paper here, but you can find us on TikTok at INC Sports, X at Iceman and Coach, Facebook, INC Sports, and YouTube, of course, as if you're watching here. But if you want to listen in audio, Iceman and Coach, wherever it is you find your podcast, my man. And don't forget Matty Ice Media Network, if you are so inclined to listen to Fire Footwear or anything else. My man, it's always good to see you.
Always.
I can't decide if we're going to do anything on Friday or not yet, but this was a kind of a bonus little feed for us. But you'll probably see us another time this week. So we hope everybody has a good time, and we'll see you next time. See you later, buddy.